Hi, everybody. We're here to do passage 51. And in the last passage, passage 50, we're hearing the narrator tell us a story about how Malvolio has come in and what kind of man Malvolio is. Remember, he's haughty and arrogant. And the narrator makes a point to tell us that he's a fool. And that's important because the author is playing with the word fool. He knows that Festi the jester, is his job title is fool, but he wants to reveal, the narrator wants to reveal to us who the real fool is. So let's continue on. I'm not starting a new paragraph here, but we do need to capitalize the first word of our sentence, needless. So let's go ahead and make that editing mark. Needless to say, and then that's an introductory phrase, needless to say. It doesn't really have a subject or a verb. This to say, that's called an infinitive, and we've talked about those briefly. But needless to say is an introductory phrase, and we always put commas after those. Festi, let's capitalize that because it's a proper noun. Festi holds his own in the verbal pairing. Now, we want to come down here and let's define verbal pairing. So a pairing, we often hear this word used when two people are fencing with the little swords. And it's actually the act of warding off an attack move with a counter move. Okay, warding off an attack with a counter move. And that's parrying. And then we're also going to be watching for these three literary devices: narrator, aside, simile, and onomatopoeia. So watch for those as we go forward. Now let's go back to our drawing tool. Needless to say, Festi holds his own in the verbal pairing. And then we're going to capitalize Malvolio. Now notice the narrator just comes out and says that he says Malvolio, that arrogant guy, he's the real fool. Now here we're going to stop. This is where we get to what's called a narrator aside. And we know this is a narrator aside because up to this point the author has been telling a story. And we also know that we need to think about tense. We talked about when you're writing a formal paper about literature, you always want to write in present tense, but when you're telling a story, you always want to write in past tense. So if we go back to this sentence, we're going to find that that verb needs to be changed. It's not holds, it's held. Held. So Festi held his own in the verbal pairing. Malvolio was the real fool. And here we see that something's changing. The narrator is now talking directly to us, the audience, and telling us not the story, but telling us about the story. And in this case, we are going to use present tense. And we're going to start a new paragraph because the purpose of the narrator speaking has changed. All right, so we're going to put that. We're going to capitalize now. We're going to put a comma after now because it's an introductory word meant to kind of help carry our words along, connect our sentences and make them flow better. So now this is, and we're going to change this, change tools here. This is, let's change when to the point where the plot thickens, like pudding. Like pudding is, that's right, you guessed it, a simile. And burbling and bluffing are onomatopoeias. So we're going to highlight those for you. Burbling and bluffing. Here we go. Those are onomatopoeias. And then let's go back here and let's mark up our like pudding. That's our simile, right? And then this whole thing this whole part, let's see right here. That all is a narrator aside. There we go, just to kind of give you a feel for what all those pieces and parts are. And that, my friends, is the end of our lesson. Please don't forget to email me if you have any questions or anything you were confused about. I'd love to hear about it. Have a great day.